Have you ever wondered how a young girl from a tiny, quiet town in southern Brazil ended up with a net worth that rivals some of the biggest names in Hollywood? It sounds like a movie script, but for Maria de Graça Meneghel, it was her reality. We are talking about the one and only Xuxa, a woman who didn't just host a TV show, she became a massive cultural phenomenon that defined the lives of an entire generation during the 80s and 90s. If you grew up in South America during that era, you know she wasn't just a star, she was the children's queen. For those of you who might be new to her incredible story, imagine a mix of Oprah Winfrey's business savvy and a pop star's global reach, all wrapped in a persona that felt like a magical big sister to millions of kids. The statistics behind her success are honestly mind-blowing. We aren't just talking about local fame here. Xuxa sold over 30 million albums, a number that most modern artists can only dream of achieving. Her brand was so massive that it eventually reached over 100 different countries, making her one of the most successful international icons Brazil has ever produced. But before the private jets, the mansions, and the world tours, there was just a girl from Santa Rosa. Her humble beginnings are a vital part of her personal myth. Her family moved to Rio de Janeiro seeking a better life, but the transition was incredibly difficult. They were a simple, working-class family struggling to make ends meet in the bustling, sometimes unforgiving streets of the big city. Who could have guessed that the girl riding the train would soon own the tracks? That discovery story is actually legendary. Imagine sitting on a train just minding your own business when a modeling scout spots you and decides you have the look. That's exactly what happened to Xuxa. Almost overnight, she went from a regular teenager to a high-fashion model. But the road to the top wasn't always paved with gold. Long before she was singing catchy songs for kids, Xuxa made some very daring career choices that still spark intense debates today. She was breaking the internet before the internet was even a thing. Between her roles in provocative films like Amor Extraño Amor and her appearances on the covers of adult magazines, she was a figure of massive controversy. People didn't know whether to admire her or criticize her, but everyone was certainly watching her every move. Then, the world really stopped spinning when she began her high-profile relationship with Pelé. Yes, the king of football himself. This was the ultimate power couple before the term even existed. He was a global icon, and she was the rising starlet with the magnetic blonde hair and a smile that lit up the room. Their romance wasn't just tabloid fodder, it was a total media earthquake. Critics and fans alike still wonder, was it true love? Or was it a strategic power move that gave her the final push into the stratosphere of fame? Regardless of the motives, her time with Pelé provided a level of media exposure that changed everything for her career. This massive fame eventually led her to a career transition that would define her legacy forever. She moved from being a controversial model to the host of Clube da Criança on the now-defunct TV Manchete. It was there that she found her true calling with the younger audience. But the real magic happened when she signed with Globo TV. Imagine the anticipation in the studio. The fog machine starts, the theme song kicks in, and that iconic silver spaceship slowly descends to the floor. Out steps Xuxa, and just like that, Xu da Xuxa was born. It was an instant hit that turned her into a billionaire mogul. Before we continue this journey, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Everything looked perfect on the surface, with the dancing, the laughter, and the catchy songs. But behind the glitter and the constant smiles, who was really pulling the strings of this billion-dollar empire? There was a powerful force working behind the curtain, someone who would control Xuxa's life with an iron fist for many years. Was the queen actually a prisoner in her own castle? Stay tuned because the real drama is just beginning as we uncover the secrets of the woman behind the throne. To truly understand how Xuxa's empire reached such heights, we have to look at the woman standing in the shadows. Marlene Matos. Marlene wasn't just a manager who handled contracts, she was the architect of the entire Xuxa brand. Think of her as a director, a guardian, and as many former insiders claim, a total dictator. Marlene controlled every single aspect of Xuxa's life, from her public image to her daily routine. This partnership was a high-stakes engine that pushed Xuxa to the top of the world, but it also meant the queen lived under a thumb of iron. Can you imagine being the most famous woman in the country and still having to ask for permission for almost everything? It was a gilded cage, and the pressure was immense behind those famous smiles. But even with that intense control, the business machine they built together was legendary. We aren't just talking about TV shows. Xuxa became a merchandising giant that would make Hollywood studios jealous. Do you remember the iconic Grendine sandals? Every girl in South America seemed to have a pair. Then there were the perfumes, lunchboxes, and those dolls that looked exactly like her. Later, she revolutionized the home video market with the Xuxa So Para Baixinhos series. Xuxa sold millions of copies. Proving her name alone guaranteed a massive profit. She didn't just have fans, she had a loyal army of followers who bought every single product she endorsed. And the queen wasn't content with just conquering Brazil, she had her sights on the entire world. Xuxa took her spaceship to Argentina, Spain, and even tried to break into the massive United States market. In the early 90s, she was so famous that American magazines were calling her the Latin American Oprah. While her English show didn't reach the same legendary status as her Portuguese versions, her global influence was undeniable. She was a powerhouse, proving that her charisma could cross any border. While her career was exploding internationally, her personal life made just as many headlines. After Pelé, Xuxa found love with another massive icon, the Formula One legend Ayrton Senna. Talk about a power couple. Their relationship was intense, passionate, and followed by paparazzi every single second. They were the true royalty of Brazil. When Senna tragically passed away, the whole nation mourned, and Xuxa's grief was shared by millions. This heartbreaking moment solidified her place in the hearts of the public forever. She wasn't just a celebrity anymore, she was part of the national soul. But with that level of fame, things started to get a little weird. Have you heard about the satanic panic of the 90s? Rumors spread that if you played Xuxa's records backward, you would hear demonic messages. There were even urban legends claiming her dolls were possessed and came to life at night. It sounds totally crazy today, but back then, parents were genuinely spooked. It just goes to show her massive impact. When you are that big, people start making up all sorts of wild stories just to try and explain your success. However, the dark side of fame was also very real and dangerous. Because of her immense wealth, Xuxa became a target. There were multiple kidnapping attempts and threats that forced her to live with extreme security measures. She couldn't just go to a park or a mall like a normal person. Her life became a series of armored cars and bodyguards. A heavy price to pay for being the most famous woman in the Southern Hemisphere. The biggest shock finally came in 2002. After 2 decades of being inseparable, Xuxa and Marlene Matos had the professional breakup of the century. Xuxa finally decided to take the wheel of her own life. She wanted total control over her finances and her creative choices. This wasn't just a business move, it was a declaration of independence. She restructured her entire empire, shifting from a managed performer to a true business mogul. She even opened her own theme park, Mundo Xuxa, which was a massive investment in real estate and entertainment. She was proving she didn't need a dictator to be a queen. But with the crown came the critics. How did she survive the shift from the children's queen to a modern business icon while everyone watched her every move? The journey was far from over, and some of the most shocking revelations were still to come. The story didn't just end with her professional independence. It actually entered a raw, unfiltered, and deeply personal new chapter that absolutely no one saw coming. Recently, Brazil and the rest of the world stood still once again when her massive documentary series was released on Global Play. For the first time in decades, the Queen sat face to face with her former manager, Marlene Matos. Can you even imagine the tension in that room? It was heavy, uncomfortable, and a little heartbreaking to watch. Seeing them confront their shared past, the absolute control, the relentless demands, and the eventual bitter fallout was like watching a piece of national history being rewritten in real time. The public was shocked to see how much Xuxa had carried in silence for all those years, revealing a vulnerable side that the spaceship and the glitter had hidden for decades. This wasn't just a trip down memory lane, it was a profound public reckoning that changed how we see her entire career. Naturally, the internet went totally wild over these revelations. Social media became a massive battlefield of opinions, with Gen Z starting to rediscover Xuxa in a way that is both fascinating and controversial. On one side, some younger viewers were quick to try and cancel her for the lack of diversity in her old shows, or for certain past mistakes that don't align with today's values. But on the other side, many saw her as a true survivor and a victim of a much more rigid and difficult time. They see a woman who was managed to within an inch of her life and still managed to come out the other side with her soul intact. It's a wild divide, isn't it? She's navigating this modern era where everyone has a voice, and she's doing it with a level of transparency and honesty we've never seen from her before. She's not hiding from the criticism, she's facing it head on. But don't go thinking for a second that she's just living off nostalgia and old documentaries. Xuxa has pulled off one of the most successful and brilliant business pivots in the history of celebrity branding. While many stars from her era faded away into obscurity, she transformed herself into a modern corporate powerhouse. Have you heard of Espeso Laser? It is currently the largest laser hair removal chain on the entire planet. And Xuxa is one of the main investors and the face of the brand. This move alone has skyrocketed her financial standing to new heights, proving she has a serious Midas touch when it comes to long-term business investments. She moved away from selling plastic toys and lunchboxes and started building a massive empire based on high-tech wellness and beauty services. And that's not all, because her personal transformation has been just as radical. She has become a fierce and dedicated vegan activist, often using her massive platform to speak up for animal rights with incredible passion. She's even taken a very strong stand for LGBTQIA+ rights, becoming a true and vocal ally in a country that is often deeply divided on these social issues. Is this just a clever piece of rebranding? Some skeptics might say so, but if you actually listen to her speak nowadays, it feels like a genuine and heartfelt change of heart from a woman who has finally found her own voice after being told exactly what to say for so long. When we talk about her wealth today, the numbers are absolutely mind-blowing. Rumors and financial reports suggest her current net worth exceeds a staggering $160 million. Just let that sink in for a moment. She isn't just rich for a celebrity, she's globally wealthy. People always ask where all that money is today. Well, it is tied up in massive real estate holdings, her thriving beauty businesses, and smart international investments that keep the Xuxa brand printing money even while she's relaxing at home. This financial independence is her greatest victory over those who once controlled her destiny. Of course, we can't talk about the Queen without mentioning her legendary past loves once more. In her most recent interviews, Xuxa has been incredibly open about her relationships with Pelé and Ayrton Senna. She's revisited those memories with a mix of sweet nostalgia and raw honesty, sparking new headlines with her candid remarks about who was the true love of her life. It seems she's finally comfortable enough to speak her absolute truth, regardless of how it might affect her public image. And speaking of family, her legacy is now being carried forward by her daughter, Xuxa Meneghel. Sasha isn't trying to be the next children's host. Instead, she's carving out her own impressive path in high fashion and international modeling, representing the Meneghel name on the most prestigious runways across the globe. So what does the future hold for the Queen? There is constant speculation that Xuxa might eventually leave Brazil for good, with persistent rumors suggesting a permanent move to a quiet villa in Italy or a mansion in the United States. She's mentioned wanting a simpler, quieter life, away from the constant flashbulbs and the prying eyes of the paparazzi. But can a woman who has been the center of the Brazilian cultural universe for 4 decades ever truly retire? It seems unlikely. Whether she stays in the bright spotlight or moves to a peaceful vineyard in Tuscany, her influence is permanent and undeniable. We may never see another superstar with this level of cultural impact and financial success again. Xuxa was a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon, a girl from Santa Rosa who dreamed her way into history and stayed there. Now it's your turn to join the conversation. What do you think was the real secret ingredient to her incredible wealth? Was it just years of hard work, a stroke of pure luck, or the cold, calculated genius of her management? And do you think Sasha will ever reach her mother's legendary level of fame? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of the world's most powerful icons. We'll see you in the next one.